Hello, Leo, and welcome to your reading. This is Bright Soul Collective Tarot, and these are going to be your intuitive insights and advice for the month of February 2022. This reading will be for Leo, Sun, Moon, and Rising. And as always, this reading will be general in nature, so not all of the messages that come through will necessarily resonate with you or be specific to your situation. But I highly recommend that you take anything that does resonate for you. And keep an open mind to the insights and concepts that come through, being willing to take anything with you into the month of February that you feel might be able to help you, and you can simply leave the rest. So I hope you're all doing well and that your year is off to a great start. I'm super excited to be reading for you today. I was supposed to do it yesterday and I just wasn't in the right energy, so I gave myself a break, and now here it's like a beautiful sunny day. This is my first reading. It's nice and bright outside, so hopefully that won't wash the cards out too much. But as you can see, I already have your 3 oracle cards here. I shuffled them off camera just for the sake of time. And so these are the ones that came out for you. So we're going to do a read of these cards and these energies. Then I'm going to pull some tarot and some clarifiers, and we will finish off with some affirmations to tie everything together. And it is my intention that I can channel and connect you with some empowering insights and information that will encourage you to connect more deeply to yourself and the world around you, and to step into the month of February feeling prepared to make the absolute best of the energies ahead. So before I get into the cards, I'm actually going to cover some channeled messages. So I took a moment to sit and channel messages to see what would come through. These might be very specific only to a certain few of you, and they may not resonate at all. So don't worry about that if they don't. This is just kind of for fun, just to practice for me, and I'll be interested to see if any of that information aligns with what comes through in the cards. So first I'll cover this is going to be a little bit longer than the other ones because I actually had something of significance come to me in a dream last night because I had set the intention that I was going to be reading for Leo next, and I was kind of like open to whatever would come through in the meantime. And so what came through in my dream, I was standing in like a very lush green setting. And it was kind of like a field of grass, and at the end there was this massive tree with like just branches sprawling everywhere, and it was beautiful. And I don't know if it was me or if someone said it to me, but they said, this is a banyan tree and you're going to make a home out of it, like a house, right? And so I remember looking at it and thinking like, wow, that's amazing. And it was almost like a wall. It was so massive. And so when I woke up, that was the one thing that really had stuck with me. And so I don't think I even consciously knew what a banyan tree was. Like, I've heard the word, but I don't think I really knew anything about it. And I certainly didn't know, like I wouldn't know it to see it. It's just not something that's really been on my radar. So I did some researching just to kind of see what might be there in terms of messages or symbolism. And so it turns out, yeah, the banyan tree is actually very spiritual in nature. It's also referred to as the tree of life. It's a type of fig tree, and it's not the same as the Bodhi tree, which is the one that Buddha sat under for like 7 days or whatever until he reached enlightenment. But it is related to that. So sometimes they're kind of interchanged. And so it's actually the national tree of India. So India might be of some significance to you. And so it's native to India and Pakistan. The other places that you might find it or connect with it could be like Cuba, Florida. But the one that stood out to me the most was actually Hawaii. So I don't know if you have a connection to Hawaii, if it's somewhere that you felt drawn to, somewhere that you might have a desire to visit, or maybe you have visited before, so that's something to keep in mind as well. And when I did some research, so the tree is related to enlightenment, immortality, and longevity. And then it's also associated with a lot of the, like, I think Hindu gods. So there's Vishnu is the bark, Brahma is the roots, and Shiva is in the branches. So it's very spiritual in that nature. So if you know anything about those Hindu gods, or if that's something that interests you, that might be something to look into. And it's recognized as a divine, like, wish-fulfilling tree. And they also kind of regard it as a place where gods and like spirits of deceased kind of go there to hang out. So it encourages self-awareness through reflection, and nothing grows around it. So it's like very firmly rooted, and it's kind of its own being, right? Like nothing really interferes with it. So it symbolizes greatness, achieving greatness, or being able to connect with greatness on a spiritual level, and kind of stepping outside of the physical realm in favor of that. So you may be really focused on your spiritual development, and maybe that's something that you have known is important to you that you haven't started moving forward on. Maybe you're already on that path. Maybe you haven't come to that realization yet. But that definitely stood out for me. So I think there's like maybe a really good potential, maybe even specifically this month, for you to kind of work on that spiritual connection to yourself, or development of a spiritual practice, something like that. So in terms of the messages that I actually channeled when I sat down, the word that came to mind was elevate. So that could be, elevating your perspective, trying to improve your mood or your outlook on life, like trying to find the positive, trying to kind of lift yourself up if you've been feeling low. The other word that came to mind was sacred space. So perhaps you are in need of a sacred space. Maybe you're feeling worn down or kind of overstimulated by your environment, and you need to create a sacred space where you can go and relax and be in your own energy. And I would say, like, it's very important in your house or in your living space, if possible, to create a sacred space. So, decorate it in a way that feels right, that represents who you are. Fill it with your favorite things, and consciously spend your time there doing things that you enjoy and connecting to yourself. So you kind of have that space in your house that holds on to your own energy, and you can go there to kind of reflect and retreat. The other thing that came into mind was dealing with consequences. So you might be in a situation right now where you feel like you are, really taking the brunt of like the consequences of your actions, whether good or bad, whether you feel you deserve it or not. Like you might be in a situation where you feel like you're stuck dealing with consequences, and maybe you feel like you're being punished, but I didn't get the sense you were being punished. It's just kind of like what you perceive. So it's like you're trying to kind of like, it's like trying to clean up the mess that's around you. The other thing that came to mind was summertime. So that could be the actual season. Obviously, Leo season is in the summertime. So you might be waiting for that. There might be something specific that you're looking forward to, or it could be the song Summertime. So maybe that has significance to you. The next thing that came to mind was grit. So perhaps you're in a situation that's calling you to be a little bit more gritty, to have a little bit more of an edge, and really kind of like get down and dirty and deal with the difficult things. So, or maybe you're being forced into a position and you don't want to do that. So I don't know how that might relate to you, but that's what came through. Next, the phrase frequent flyer. So I don't know, maybe some of you travel a lot or are hoping to travel a lot. Maybe you had a lot of travel plans that have had to be put on hold. But so travel could be something that's important to you, or something that you're looking to kind of get back into. Or you might be kind of like trying to plan a trip somewhere. The next word that came to mind was evangelical. So I don't know, something like religious in nature, if that might be on your mind. And then next was the phrase, why do I have to do this? And I felt like it was kind of going hand in hand with this idea of like grit and dealing with consequences. So maybe you feel like you're in a position where you don't have much choice right now. Like maybe it feels like you don't really get to do the things that you want to do, or the things that you want to enjoy, and you feel like you're just kind of stuck doing things that need to be done. Like it's all kind of work, or it's all being imposed on you. And so there's also kind of like perhaps a little bit of victim mentality that came with that. Maybe because you've been in that space, you're kind of like feeling a bit worn down, and it's making it difficult for you to kind of cultivate an attitude that will help you get through whatever it is and maybe start making different decisions. But the general feeling that I got was that change is a struggle right now. So maybe you're going through a lot of change and you've been having a hard time. Maybe there's change that needs to happen. You've been resisting. And then I got the concept of absolution and starting over. So kind of like being absolved of all of your mistakes and wrongdoings and getting a fresh start and really trying to free yourself of whatever it was that was kind of like hanging over your head that you need to be absolved of. And then finally, the symbolism that came through was wings. So that could be angel wings, bird wings. That could be related to feather, again, like flying or flight. I don't know, you might believe in angels. You might have some kind of connection to angels, or maybe feathers. Maybe like seeing feathers is like a sign for you. It's like a synchronicity in your life. I'm not sure. And then just on an overall level, when I sat down to read, I had like a bit of a headache, not like a full-on headache, but it was like tension almost in my temples and around my eyes. And it just kind of like started all at once. And so the thing that came to mind is like maybe you're clenching your jaw, holding tension in your jaw, and that's kind of going up into your head. Or the other thing that struck me is that you might be straining your eyes. So it's kind of like the sensation when your eyes, when you're straining, like straining to focus or straining to read, maybe squinting, and the muscles start to get tired and they start to ache. So it kind of like, yeah, it's right around the temple area. So if that is something that makes sense to you, that's something that you experience, I would recommend, if you have glasses, make sure that you're wearing them. So if you don't have glasses, perhaps it might be something to look into. Or if you do have glasses or corrective lenses and you wear them, it might be a good idea to get your eyes checked, and perhaps you're in need of a new prescription. And if none of that applies or makes sense, it could also just be like ensuring that you're giving your eyes a break. So maybe you're just sitting down like at a computer staring at a screen for too long, and you're not giving your eyes a break. And regardless of whether you're wearing glasses or not, you're just kind of like getting these headaches because you're constantly staring at the screen in front of your face. So I would say like make sure, even if you need to set a timer to get up from your desk and just leave it for 15 minutes or something, make sure you're giving yourself a break. Make sure you're giving your eyes a break. That could help in terms of that tension. I also had ringing in my ears. So for me, that I always kind of have ringing in my ears, but it comes to be more noticeable when I read cards and I'm doing anything intuitive. So that might be something that you experience too. It might be a sign that you need to connect more with your intuition if you're somebody who has an inkling that you may have some like spiritual gifts or something like that. And as I focused on the ringing in my ears and became aware of it, it just got louder and louder and louder. And it just kind of like, it almost like took over all of the other sounds. So that kind of tells me like, it's almost like there's something there trying to get your attention, and the more attention you pay and the room that you give it to grow, like it's like vying for your attention, whatever it is. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but anyways, that's what came through. So now we're going to try and read your cards and see what's on tap for you in February 2022. So your first card is Priestess. How are you being called to step up and lead? Right. And then Lemurian Quartz is your next. And finally, we have Pandora's Gift. So I'm just going to get a read on these oracle cards first, and then we'll pull some tarot. And so it's funny because I am getting the sense that this is very spiritual in nature, this reading. So if you're not necessarily into spirituality or spiritual development, this might not resonate for you. I'm going to do my best to read it in as general of a way as possible, but that does seem to be like a very obvious undertone. And I'm also must say that in terms of spirituality and spiritual development, it doesn't have to be anything like really weird and out there. It can just be as simple as like your connection to yourself, your intuition. And that's mostly like the things that feel good to you, the things that you naturally feel drawn to, that naturally energize you, and just kind of like paying attention to your own inner guidance. So it doesn't have to be anything like out there and like complicated. And it's funny too, because like looking at all three of these faces, there's kind of a face in the middle of this Lemurian quartz as well, but they all have the same kind of like expression, like it's all the way across the board. So that's kind of interesting. But yeah, undeniably, like this looks like a really, really, really good month for you to start paying a little bit more attention to yourself. If you are a spiritual person, if you believe in spirituality, this might be a good month to kind of emphasize that, maybe put a little bit more time and effort into it, whether it is reading and trying to educate yourself, whether it's a spiritual practice. It seems like I kind of get the impression that any work that you do on yourself this month is just going to be amplified, right? And so if you can kind of get in touch with yourself and figure out what it is you're being called to do, like at a soul level, and you're willing to connect with and align, that is just going to be like magnified, because it seems like this is the time for you to really step into it. And so if there is any part of you that is curious and you're not already kind of like on that path, I would recommend like, even just start. You can start small and see what feels right to you, right? It is a very unique process. It's a very intuitive process, and just allowing yourself to step into that. So with the priestess here, and it says, how are you being called to step up and lead? I'm not sure if you're aware of your leadership abilities. I kind of get the sense that like, well, Leos are generally like natural leaders, but just because we have that inclination or that ability doesn't necessarily mean that we're comfortable with it or we enjoy it or we want to like be put in that position. And I kind of get the feeling that maybe you've been hesitant to lead or step into a leadership role, either just in leading your own life and your own decisions, or in a situation where you're leading others in any way, shape, or form that can manifest in anything like school, work, family, relationships, however that applies to you. It could be in all of those areas. So I get the impression that maybe you have been avoiding or undercutting your own leadership abilities and your belief in your ability to kind of lead and empower yourself to make your own decisions, because you've been either defaulting to or deferring to someone else, or looking to someone else to kind of like lead you and make the path clear. And so if you've been feeling like you need someone, you need a leader, you need somebody to kind of illuminate the path for you or help you find the next step, this is really confirmation that you're being encouraged to be that leader for yourself. So first and foremost, to start connecting with yourself and finding how you can step into your own power and lead from that place. And then that will likely lead to, influencing those around you inevitably, right? So yeah, because I kind of get the sense that maybe you have been looking for a leader, looking for someone to follow, looking for someone to kind of like help you gain clarity and to make life easier maybe. But you haven't quite found anybody who really jives with you completely. And that could be, in your work life, that could be in your friend circle, that could be romantic relationships. So maybe you just feel like even the stuff that's possible, it's still not quite what you want, or it still doesn't feel quite right. It's not quite representative of you and what's important to you. And you're just wishing that you could find somebody that would get you, or would have the same priorities, or, would take you where you want to go. And and it just hasn't happened yet. And I think that maybe there might also be a tendency to commit to or to stay in dynamics where you're like allowing someone else to lead you, knowing full well that it doesn't necessarily align. Maybe you're giving away your power, or maybe you're going along with it because it's easy or it seems like it'll be okay. But I think that you know that you're kind of denying yourself in that way, or maybe you're kind of, yeah, like there's like a sense of being limited. And so this is basically saying like whatever it is that you want, whatever you want to feel, whatever you want to experience and cultivate in your life, it really very much is up to you and only you. So you're not going to find the leader that you're looking for, because that leader is you and that leader is inside of you. And it's really about doing whatever you need to do to get into the energy where you can connect with that and to feel confident in doing that. Because the difference between a leader and a follower is that a leader has the courage to step out and do it first, right? And then naturally people are drawn to them. And so when it comes to being stepping into a role of leadership in your own life, it really requires you to cultivate that relationship with yourself, that awareness of self. You know, what feels light, what feels heavy, what feels good and what feels bad. What are you naturally called to do, right? Like, what are you passionate about? What are you curious about? What are you drawn to? And to start leaning into that and recognizing that that is part of your divine purpose, and that starting to honor that and making decisions to move toward that, even if it's different, right? And even if there's no one else doing it, and even if you don't have anyone to lead you down that path specifically, it's knowing that that's what you're meant to be doing, and just giving yourself permission to do it anyways. And that's especially important if on an interpersonal level, you don't have a lot of other people around you, or maybe the people that you do have, you know, aren't aligned, and you're just kind of like holding on to them for the sake of having people around you, right? So it's like, you know, whether it's a specific relationship or friendships or whatever, and you're trying to find your people, you have to find yourself first and make room for yourself, and start leading from your heart and the things that you're passionate about. And those people will find you, because those people who are looking for the type of leadership and the type of life that you can support and that you are creating for yourself will naturally be drawn to you, right? And that kind of sorts itself out. So the power is within you. And if you are going to lead, either just yourself and take charge of your own life and take back your power, or if you're leading other people, it's how can you be the leader that you didn't have? Because usually when we're being called to lead, it's because at one point we felt like we were in need of a leader, and maybe we never got that person. And so if that person doesn't exist, it's because you have to lead the way from your own energy. So how can you do that in the most meaningful way for you, right? And with Lemurian quartz, this is really encouraging you to see the big picture, right? So instead of focusing in on each individual experience and the feelings that are coming up as a result, it's trying to take a step back, seeing the big picture, seeing how things kind of interconnect, and seeing the bigger meaning and the lessons behind everything, right? Because it can be easy to get bogged down in like individual circumstances, right? So it's like this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens, and you're feeling whatever kind of way, maybe like down, maybe you're feeling like things have not been working out. And when you stay in those energies, it's hard to connect with hope, or the understanding that there is more to it, there's more to life. And so, yeah, this is the key. Like, to step back and take a big picture view is the key to connecting with your own wisdom and being able to see, you know, what's really going on under the surface, right? So, you know, sometimes we'll have negative experiences and we feel like we're being like punished, or we're caught up in the feelings of that are associated with that kind of like struggle. And because we're so deeply into it, if we were to step back, it's a lot easier to kind of, you know, not be so much in your emotions, and not to take things so personally, to see things from a more objective view and see it as a learning experience, a life experience, an opportunity to gain wisdom or perspective, right? And it's like, even if it's something that's negative that you didn't want, it's like you have the experience of handling that, and now you know what you don't want or what doesn't work, and you can continue refining your way to what does, instead of just being so stuck on the fact that it didn't work that you stop moving forward, right? So it's understanding that there's a bigger meaning and a bigger purpose to everything that goes on in your life. And even something that feels massive and challenging and like world ending or world stopping right now, if you can just get a little bit of distance from it and see it from an outside perspective, to acknowledge that it's just a step on your path and it's just a phase, then it's a little bit easier to see, like, what might I learn from this? Why might this be happening? And how you can kind of like alchemize that, especially if it's something negative, how you can alchemize that and turn it into something positive, right? So that's going to be the key for you, is like envisioning what it is that you want, right? And what you want to move toward. And taking a look at your situation right now and seeing, like, is this what you envisioned for yourself? Is this the life that you wanted? And if not, like, what steps can you take to align more deeply with that? And the situations, especially the ones that are not in alignment whatsoever, or almost the opposite of what you want, what can you take, or what have you learned that has made you able to kind of like hone further in on what the right path might be, or what the right, kind of solution might be. And so it's really, it's like having vision for the future, and not being afraid to work toward it, even if the experiences that you're having right now, you can't see how that's going to be beneficial, right? Or you're feeling stuck. So it's like you have the power to connect with your own inner wisdom and your highest self. And this is also like a spiritual card too. So you might actually be able to you might have more of a connection to spirituality, and like you might be able to channel information or messages. You might have some kind of spiritual gift, and that might be a part in helping you to take a step back and see the bigger meaning and kind of intuit what your next steps are to get to where you want to be. And it's just important that it comes from like a very heart-centered place, something that's meaningful to you, because if you are taking steps simply for the sake of taking steps, or you are taking steps to follow the path of somebody else, you can't necessarily be surprised when life doesn't turn out exactly as you want, or it isn't reflective of what you want. So it's like what you're putting into it and the space that you're in right now that's going to influence where you go to. So it's recognizing the opportunity for you to step out of these individual experiences and see how it's shaping your overall experience in life, and how you can use that to keep you moving in a direction that's intentional and focused on what you want based on your own inner knowledge, right? And with Pandora's gift, this is actually the last card in this deck, the Sacred Rebels deck. So it's kind of like you might really be needing to kind of step into a rebellious energy, because the whole idea with Pandora, I don't know a lot of the history behind Pandora, but I know that like she's got a bad rap, right? But honestly, like the way that she's represented, there's a lot of misunderstanding, there's a lot of misrepresentation, and the whole purpose of this card is basically like you are being encouraged to connect with the divine, and the light within yourself, and to be able to see that in the world around you, and to let go of all of the harmful, negative things, right? So you might be the type of person that feels like life is about punishment, right? Maybe you're living a life based on fear, like a fear of failure, a fear of imperfection, a fear of rejection, a fear of being punished. And maybe you feel like whenever you aren't perfect, or whatever you make a mistake, even if you learn from it, that you should be punished, right? And so there's a lot of shame, there's a lot of guilt, there's a lot of being weighed down by, driven by, and influenced by those low emotions. And it's saying like you don't need to be in that place. That's not benefiting you, right? And you're never going to be able to connect with your own light and your highest good if you're in a place where you are punishing yourself, or you're expecting to be punished, or you're you're trying to avoid these difficult feelings because you feel like you're not worthy enough. And so instead, it's being willing to let go of whatever inspires that in you, whether it's like some kind of authoritarian figure that uses that to intimidate you, whether it's just your conditioning, the way that you were raised, whether it's something that you've kind of come to expect. Maybe you're really hard on yourself, you're really super critical and you're a perfectionist, but it's basically saying like that is hindering you and dragging you down, because this card also indicates that you likely you have some kind of special, unique talent or some kind of sacred gift. It could be a spiritual gift. And there's a lot of light inside of you, and there's the opportunity for you to really, really connect with that and to step into your light, to step into your power and to start sharing that. And it's kind of like there's this seed of possibility inside of you to do something that is going to be deeply meaningful and maybe even like a little bit like spiritual in nature. And if you decide to nurture that seed, it can grow into something really beautiful that'll be a source of light for you individually in your life, but also for others, right? And it'll attract others around you because you can see all of this light and this vision, and there's transformation here too. And so you're really kind of robbing yourself of the opportunity to connect with your highest good and step into something that's going to be like really rewarding and really like full of love and connection. But yeah, you're holding yourself back from doing that by staying in this really critical mindset, and by, feeling as though you need to be punished for all of your imperfections, because this is like a learner's mindset. It's encouraging a learner's mindset. So instead of looking at everything that you've done or haven't done as like a failure or a shortcoming or something that is imperfect that needs to be perfected, and then expecting that you're not good enough or worthy enough, or you should be punished, or you should have guilt or shame for not being perfect or having all of the answers. It's basically saying like, you need to recognize that you are just a human. You're having a human experience. You're living your life, and you have to learn through experience. There is no perfection. It's not possible to begin with, right? But there is no way to learn as a human without some of that being experiential. And learning through experience means like we will make mistakes. There will be oversights, whether intentional or not. There will be failures. There will be progressions and regressions. And that is just the way it is. This is part of the learning process. And we need to experience that in order to grow, and to grow on all levels, like mentally and spiritually and emotionally. And so it's starting to recognize that the experiences that you're having, the decisions that you make, the qualities that you have, anything that's attached to guilt or shame, or like this feeling of not being worthy or being punished, or like maybe other people punishing you, it's really too harsh, right? Because it's almost dragging you down so much that you can't even possibly take the lesson or learn from it. And so it's embracing life. You came here to learn. You didn't come here to be perfect from the start, and you didn't come here to be punished. And it's being willing to let go of anything that's tied to that like heavy energy. So it could be a person, it could be a mindset or a way of approaching things. It could be a boss, it could be a friend, and not letting people do that to you, like not letting people criticize you and bring you down and punish you. Because if you're here to learn and you're willing to have learning experiences, then that's what's most important. The outcome, what happened, looking back on it, that's not important. What's important is that you recognize and take the lesson, and that you're willing to learn, because that's what's going to take you in the direction of your highest good. Is if you can move through life, and even if you make mistakes, or even if things don't work out, it's like that's a learning opportunity for you to help you connect more with yourself and your own light, and to take yourself in like the highest possible direction, instead of hammering yourself down into the ground, right? Because you're meant to be a leader. And if you have a spiritual gift, or if you have like a really like spiritual energy and calming energy about you, you know, you're meant to get yourself into a good place so that you can have everything that you want out of life and you can be content. And it's focusing, like with the banyan tree, focusing more on spirituality than on the physical world. And like more on your own self and your intuition and your emotions, and kind of bringing everything into balance, because you can lead others. You can lead your own life in the direction of your choosing. You can cultivate your own happiness, and you can lead and influence others too. So your first tarot card, sorry, it was my computer. Your first tarot card is the Queen of Cups. Okay, let's get another. Your second tarot card is the Two of Cups. Okay, let's see. Okay, so this is for Leo. Your third tarot card is Judgment. And let's get one more. Oh my gosh. And your final card is the Seven of Cups. All of these cups, my goodness, with the Queen of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck. Okay, so let me just organize all of this here so that we have room for our clarification cards. All right, interesting. So this is like, with all the cups being here, this is very much focused on like your emotions, your emotional connection, your relationships with others and relationship to self. And it also is representative of your like happiness, and fulfillment in this life. And so maybe you guys have been in your feels for a while. Maybe you're highly sensitive. Maybe you experience emotions really deeply. And maybe it's something that you haven't made a lot of time for, or you're trying to kind of get into making time for. But I see this month being really important for you on an emotional level, in terms of just trying to find your balance and your stability, and cultivating that connection for self. I think like self-love and self-care is really, really important. And I think that's going to be a huge key in all of this, like really higher dimensional kind of energy, like on a spiritual level. And spiritual level could just mean like, it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't have to be anything weird. It could just be like coming to major realizations, like aha moments, right? Or moments of enlightenment where you realize like maybe the outcome of a decision was meant to kind of teach you A versus B. Like it can just be like clarity and recognition in your own life, like what is right for you. So that's what I mean when I say like spirituality as well. But the key is like, I think you have really been trying to handle your emotions, whether positive or negative or both. And maybe you've been spending a lot of time also sitting in your emotions and trying to figure out like how you can cultivate a bit more emotional security, emotional stability, maybe balancing out negative emotions so that you can have some more love and joy in your life. But I see this as like really, really important to connect with yourself. So taking time for self-love and self-care is going to be the first main thing. And so this could mean like maybe you're really busy and you haven't actually really prioritized taking time to yourself or by yourself, or really connecting with yourself and how you feel. And this month, that's going to be something that will really help you, because to be your own leader and to believe that you can lead yourself and you can take charge and make your own decisions without the guidance or leadership of anyone else, you really have to have that relationship and that self-love and that respect for yourself and that willingness to connect so that you can receive your own inner wisdom and know what decisions to make. And so it's like being able to sit in that energy. And also it's like, it's very much just like thought of RuPaul. Like, if you don't love yourself, how the hell are you going to love anyone else, right? And so it's like, yeah, you've got to start with you, and you have to recognize that like that's not a selfish thing to do. And that even if you're really focused on relationships outside of you, like if you lean on your family a lot, or you want like to have friends to lean on, or like a romantic relationship, like I see that's your challenge this month. So like a romantic relationship, or maybe just having those really, really emotionally connected, deep and fulfilling relationships is something that you have been overly focused on. I kind of sense that what's standing in your way is your own relationship to yourself and your own kind of self-care and self-love, right? And just like really working to be okay with who you are and where you are, even if you weren't to have those kind of fulfilling relationships yet, because it's doing that work and aligning with yourself and what's important to you that's going to allow you to bring in partnerships and relationships that are beneficial to you and that have the capacity to expand into something beautiful that you're looking for, right? So it's like with the Two of Cups, this is a very, it can be a very spiritual relationship. It can be very like deeply connected. Like, it could be like a soulmate kind of energy, and that can manifest in different ways. Obviously, like that can just be a friendship. That can be a romantic relationship. It doesn't, yeah, it's however that kind of makes sense to you. And so it's like, you see here, it's so two people and two cups, and both of those cups are full. Right? So it's not like two halves of a whole. I think a lot of times like that's a common mistake when it comes to relationships, is like, oh, so you're looking for somebody to complete you or someone to give you something that you don't have. And the Two of Cups, the reason that it is such a healthy and loving and deep and fulfilling relationship is because the two people are coming in full. They're coming in with love and understanding and respect for themselves. They're coming in feeling whole and complete, and willing to take responsibility for their own feelings, and then being in a position to be ready to share that with others. So they're not looking for a partner or a friend or, a relationship to fill the need that is unfulfilled within them. They're not looking for their cup to be filled. They're not looking to be expected to fill somebody else's cups. It's two emotionally healthy and fulfilled people. So, and that doesn't mean that your life has to be perfect and that everything is like beautiful and easy all of the time. It just means that you are able to connect with and cultivate self-love and happiness and fulfillment and gratitude from moment to moment in your current situation, regardless of where you are on your path, and that you can connect with somebody on a level where you're able to share that. So each person is able to share, their happiness and their stability and their depth of emotion with each other, but there's no codependence. And so I think that like being in this Queen of Cups energy where you're trying to like heal and connect with yourself and making sure that you practice self-love and that you are focused on yourself first and foremost to get yourself where you need to be. So fill your own cup. If you are feeling like you're missing something, right? Whatever you are looking to get out of a relationship, whatever you're hoping to get out of it, and that could be anything. It could even be like your career, your home life, your family, whatever it is that you feel like you're missing, that you're looking for outside of yourself, just know it's within you. You have the opportunity to access it and to connect with it right now. You don't need somebody else. And it's really, really important to think of the ways that you want to be shown love, the way that you want to receive love from people and from experiences around you. How can you start doing that for yourself first? Love yourself the way that you want to be loved, fill your own cup. And then that way, no matter what situation you're in, what kind of relationship you're in, you're always able to take care of yourself and take responsibility for yourself. And if what you want is an equal partner and an equal healthy relationship, friendship, family relationship, you really have to get there for yourself and lead with that energy. And you have to be willing to kind of let go of the people that aren't in that space, right? So don't allow people that are coming to you with a half full cup to try and steal from your full cup if you're maintaining that. You can recognize that they might be a nice person, there might be nothing wrong with them, you might even want to have them in your life, but until they are filling their own cup, there isn't the opportunity to have the healthy, equal relationship that you're looking for. And so if you can sense that someone's not doing that work for themselves, you can't fix them, you can't save them, you can't fill their cup for them. And so like the most loving thing that you can do for yourself is to step away from those types of interactions, to continue focusing on yourself. And you'll know when you meet somebody who's not codependent, right? And so that's the challenge. The challenge is to not start investing in things that you know are not going to give you that equal, healthy fulfillment, and two people coming together with love and taking responsibility for themselves and just sharing their happiness, right? And so it's really like being able to let go of judgment is going to help you do that. So not judging yourself for the decisions that you've made in the past, the experiences that you've had, not judging yourself for what you want. So I think like you really have to let yourself connect with your highest good and what's most important to you, and know that as long as you're following your heart and you're honoring your intuition and making the decisions that feel right for you from a place of love for yourself and for others, that you don't have to feel bad, right? Because, in order to protect that and to protect ourselves and our energy, we have to set boundaries. And sometimes that means we have to say no to people. Sometimes that means we have to reject people. Sometimes that means we will be rejected by others. And so it's like, don't feel guilty about making the decision that's right for you. Especially if you're dealing with codependent people, if you say no, out of your own interest and knowing that that's the most loving decision for you, it will upset them because they're probably looking for you to fill a need, right? And so you don't have to worry about anyone's feelings when you're operating from a place of love and of knowledge and making a decision that's best for you, because it's not negative, it's not malicious, nothing that you're doing is wrong. And so you need to stop judging yourself and really let go of that guilt and shame and operate from a place of love and light and allow that to take you in a different direction. Because if you are so worried about what other people want, and you make yourself feel bad, but you also allow other people to make you feel bad for just being yourself and doing your best and doing what you know is best for you, then you're really just committed to playing out the same cycles that are dragging you down, right? So it's like you have to let go of judging yourself and trust that you are doing things for yourself from a place of self-love once you get into this place and once your cup is full, and that making decisions that support that, it's the best thing for you. And, inevitably we will make decisions that, other people don't like, or that they may be hurt by, they may judge us, but, that's not our problem. That's theirs, right? And so it's like, if you're working on filling your cup and the decision that you make that is best for you disappoints or hurts somebody else, that wasn't intentional. That's not your fault. How they respond is their responsibility. And so if anything, it should prove to you that, they need to continue working on filling their own cup, right? Like their experiences, their emotions are their responsibility. And if they can't accept that what they want from you isn't what's in your best interest yet, and they're still trying to pressure you in that direction, then that gives you a pretty good idea that, that isn't necessarily the healthiest connection for you right now. And yeah, so the overall energy of the month with the 7 of Cups is basically saying I think you've been a little bit scattered. Maybe you've been unsure of what it is exactly that you want. And maybe there are lots of different options, and having different options, it just has been confusing for you. It's tough to know what you want for yourself. So I'm just going to pull the clarifiers while I finish reading this here. So maybe all this external noise and all this shame and guilt has made it difficult for you to really ascertain what it is that you want and what is important to you. And this month, you're going to be able to have clarity to know what is your wish? What is your dream? What feels right to you? And what do you want to move toward? And really to start doing that, right? Because you can clear out all that energy that's not yours, all those expectations that are holding you back, and start connecting with that light inside of you and what that means, what path you're meant to be on, what steps you're meant to take. And with the Queen of Pentacles at the bottom, it's you have a certain amount of stability and a certain amount of being grounded in the material world. And it's Like she's a boss. So you don't have man or woman. Like this is like a boss energy, like very like stable materially. And I think you're just trying to find that emotionally as well. Okay. Second card fell on the floor. So your first clarifier is the Lovers, and then we have Father of Pentacles. Right, for Judgment, we have there you go, the Two of Cups again. And then finally for the Seven of Cups, let's get a clarifier. Oops. Okay. So we have the Hangman. Oh, I just dropped a bunch of cards on the floor. Okay. Let's see. And your bottom of the deck is the Ace of Swords. So yes, like, my goodness, with the Two of, like, all of this Cups energy, Queen of Cups, Two of Cups, Seven of Cups, we've got the Two of Cups again, we've got the Lovers. Like, this really is emphasizing, like, emotion, relationships, connection, intuition, and, like, subconscious, like, your happiness and fulfillment. So yeah, like, I don't know, this might not apply for all of you, but I think that, like, love and relationships, connections, romantic partnerships might be really on your mind right now. And, you know, I also get the sense with this, like, spiritual energy and like enlightenment and alignment, that maybe it's your relationships, your approach to relationships and love that has been hindering your personal and spiritual development. Because you've been so focused on your relationships and the things outside of yourself rather than turning inward. And so it's basically saying, like, if you stop blocking yourself intuitively and you start really, like, connecting to yourself, leaning into your energy and your emotions and making that time and space for yourself, leading with your own energy, getting yourself in a good space first. It's not that you might think you're not meant to have as much as you want it. You might think that you're not meant to have, like, beautiful, loving, deep, committed relationships that are fulfilling, but you are. Like, it's here twice. You're meant to have that. And with this being your challenge here, like, really, it's like, focus on you first. Focus on you first. Give yourself that love and attention. Get yourself into that place of stability, because you don't want to commit to a relationship that doesn't bring out the best in you, right? You don't want to commit to a relationship that keeps you stuck in someone else's energy or under someone else's control and keeps you from connecting with the depths of your own intuitive wisdom and even, like, the information that's available to you through your higher self and your higher consciousness. So yeah. Queen of Cups here, the Lovers, a lot of people associate that, like, with the Two of Cups, also like a loving romantic relationship, which it can be, but it's also about making choices and how we have to make the choice to love ourselves first, and that loving and accepting ourselves and doing the work on ourselves to be in a healthy, fulfilled place before we bring anyone else into the mix is the most important thing, right? And so, yeah, you are very much being asked to focus on yourself, and do so without guilt, without shame. Do so knowing that it's going to do absolutely nothing but improve your circumstances, improve your happiness. And if you've been feeling, like, hard on yourself, really truly connecting with yourself in this love is going to give you, it's going to allow you to give yourself a break, you know, and disconnect from that shame and that perfectionism and this idea that you should be punished for everything that you're not, right? Like, no more of that. No more accepting that energy. I'm sorry. And then it's interesting because with the Father of Pentacles here with the Two of Cups, it's like you've already mastered this, like, Queen of Pentacles energy. So it's like, you know, maybe, like, in terms of finance or career, material life, home life, like, you've kind of got it on lockdown. You're feeling like a queen. You're feeling stable and abundant and really kind of, like, grounded in that sense. or at least you've got like a good foundation to build upon, even if you're not where you want to be. And it's like you're looking for your king. You're looking for your king of pentacles, like somebody else who has like a similar level of stability, someone else who's going to be a match for you. But if you've been focusing on somebody that's going to be a match for you just in the most basic material ways, sometimes you might be sacrificing the emotional side, or like it's about integrating everything. Like, you are a complex being. You exist in the physical world, and you've been working on your material stability and abundance, but you've also got an abundance of like emotional energy and spiritual energy, and like the person that you want to be with and share your life with. In order for that to be a healthy, equal partnership, they need to be on the same plane as you. You know, like they have to have a similar level of complexity, acceptance of their complexity, and a willingness to live in that space. So you don't want a one-dimensional relationship just with somebody who's solid. You want like a partner all across the board. And with the Two of Cups being here again, in terms of releasing judgment, so that emphasizes for me, it's not just the ways that you judge yourself, right? But it's like others judging you. So somebody who's truly happy themselves, and they're going to be loving and supportive toward you. They're not going to be codependent. They're not going to be leaning on you for anything. And so they're not going to be constantly passing judgment or criticizing you or trying to influence you or control you, right? So with you releasing this judgment that you place on yourself and these expectations and this pressure, and allowing yourself to be and lean into the things that feel good and the things that are uniquely you, you're also going to be able to let go of this, like, it seems like toxic relationships, like let go of the people that perpetuate that, right? So it might be that you're trying to not to be hard on yourself, and you have relationships with people that are hard on you, and it's more difficult for you to kind of continue stepping out of that. But if you accept that from somebody else, it's really difficult not to do that for yourself. Whereas if you get yourself into a good spot where you are making healthy decisions and not beating up on yourself, you're not going to accept that from somebody else. And that's why you are the key, and loving yourself first is the key. And with the Seven of Cups here, the Hanged Man shows up. So if you have been feeling like really unfocused or really unsure about your direction in this life, or what it is that you're trying to create, or what possibilities are open to you, this is very much confirming that, like, this is a good month when you start focusing on yourself and really getting into alignment to receive that clarity. Because the reason that you've been feeling stuck, or the reason that things have been slow moving, or you haven't been moving forward, is because you are meant to have this time to cultivate a different perspective. So the Hanged Man is often upside down, and the whole purpose is being suspended there upside down. You can't take action, you're not moving, but you can rest. So rest and observe. And in observing upside down, it allows you to kind of get a different perspective on life and on situations. And so maybe that's been the whole purpose of everything that you've been through, is to kind of like finally be able to get this clarity, right? So you haven't been able to move forward necessarily on all the things that are important to you. And maybe you've been feeling stuck and stagnant, but that's only because, like, especially this month provides you a really great opportunity to change your perspective about yourself, your worth, your value, your work, right? Your relationships, the way that you treat yourself, the way that you allow others to treat you, your ability to lead. Like, this is a big picture thing, like developing your vision, taking some time. Sorry, I'm like out of breath right now. Taking some time to just sit back and really focus on yourself and get yourself sorted will give you a totally new perspective. Like, there is an opportunity for you to have a massive shift in perspective this month, and to really connect with something that's going to be beautiful. Because also the Ace of Swords, it's like you've been wanting a new perspective on life, I think, maybe even subconsciously, because I feel like you've been feeling really limited, right? You've been feeling really limited by all of the experiences that you have been having, and they haven't necessarily been exactly what you want. And it's because of you and your relationship with yourself. So this is really, really promising. I'm going to pull you some affirmation cards, because this is already way longer than I expected it to be. But that's okay, because I know I had the whole dream and channeled messages too. So let's get you a couple of affirmations just to tie things up for Leo. Okay, your first one. I can think my way out of fear. Interesting. So that goes really nicely with this Ace of Swords, and this Hangman too. So especially if you're somebody that's prone to anxiety and overthinking and over-analysis, start paying attention to your thoughts. And are your thoughts feeding and creating more fear and a sense of unease, or not? And if they are, then how can you change your perspective and your thoughts on the situation, and what thoughts will help you feel better, right? And combat that fear, because our thoughts are a reality, right? But it doesn't mean that it's real. So if you're going to believe whatever you're thinking, why not have it be something good and empowering so that you can connect more readily with your highest outcome? Then we have, if I want to feel supported, I must support myself. Yes, that goes perfectly with being your own leader, not looking to someone else. You know, giving yourself the love and acceptance that you're so desperately, you know, looking for outside of yourself. And you're the key, right? All right. Oh, more fell on the floor. Okay, and finally, so I make a decision, or I make decisions from a place of intuition and power. So again, that lines up perfectly with all of this energy from these oracle cards, and the sense that, like, if you really focus on yourself and your emotions and get yourself into a healthy place where you can align with what feels best to you, what you feel most drawn to, and trust that that's true, you can make those decisions and trust that those are going to be what's best for you, regardless of what the outcome is, and that it's going to be an opportunity for you to learn whatever is the most important for your own soul's growth, to get closer to your highest outcome. And then this is another one that turned up. So to relinquish control, I simply let loose and allow myself to be more childlike. All right. All right. So yeah, maybe you're feeling pretty weighted down just because you've had like a really low, heavy energy, and maybe there's a sense of just like, like obligation and work and needing to kind of keep everything controlled and in order. And yeah, I think that's really beautiful. It's like, it's not only just connecting with yourself and showing yourself that love, but it's allowing yourself to relax and connect with fun and joy and play. So to be more childlike, you know, maybe connecting with your inner child, taking the time to do something fun, right? If there are children in your life, it's like spending time with them and really being present and mindful, spending that time doing something enjoyable with them and letting yourself be more childlike, right? So children model that for us, and they actually make it a little bit easier for us to get in touch with that inner child and to have a little bit more fun. So that might be something also that you can kind of incorporate into your life a little bit more this month. So whew, wow, that was a very long reading, the longest one yet, but I think I'm going to leave this here. These are your messages, Leo. So thank you so much for sticking it out. I know it's been a long reading, but I hope this was helpful for you. I hope this resonated. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to like and share. Definitely leave me a comment and let me know how it resonated. And if you enjoyed this video, you can head over to my channel at Bright Soul Collective Tarot and check out my other videos. And if you subscribe to my channel, then you'll have access to all of my new videos as they come out. But yeah, Leo, it was an absolute pleasure to read for you. I really do hope that this is helpful to you. And I look forward to reading for you again in the future, very much so. But in the meantime, I'm wishing you all the very best.